In a small village on the edge of a vast forest, there lived a poor farmer named Bala. He was known as the hardest working man in the village, but despite his tireless labor, his land was barren and his crops always seemed to fail. Bala struggled to provide for his family, and each season brought new challenges that tested. One scorching afternoon, after a long day of tilling his dry and unyielding land, Bala ventured deep into the forest to gather firewood. As he wandered further than usual, he came across a clearing where a magnificent tree stood. Its bark gleamed with a golden hue, and its leaves were a brilliant, lush green. But what truly caught his attention were the large, shimmering fruits hanging from its branches, glowing as though they were made of gold. Bala stared in awe, his hunger and weariness forgotten. "What kind of tree is this?" he whispered, stepping closer. The fruit seemed too good to be true, and as he reached out to touch one, a deep, melodic voice came from the tree itself. "Take only what you need," the tree warned, "and you shall never know hunger." Startled, Bala pulled his hand back. "Who are you? What are you?" "I am the tree of life," the tree replied softly. "I provide for those in need, but beware of greed, for it will destroy you." Bala hesitated, his heart racing, but the sweet scent of the fruit was irresistible. Trusting the tree's words, he plucked a single fruit, warm and glowing in his hand. With gratitude, he took the fruit home to his family. When his wife cut it open, the fruit was juicy and more than enough to feed them all. Its flesh was so nourishing that Bala and his family felt full and energized. Amazed by the tree's power, Bala returned the next day, picking just one fruit as before. Day after day, he visited the tree, taking only what his family needed. For the first time in years, they no longer went hungry, and Bala felt a growing sense of contentment. But as the weeks passed, a seed of greed began to sprout in Bala's heart. Word of Bala's sudden prosperity spread through the village. People noticed that his family was healthier and that they never seemed to struggle for food anymore. Curious villagers asked Bala how he had managed this transformation, but he kept the tree a secret, fearing that others would take the magical fruit for themselves. Bala's success made him feel powerful, and soon, he began to think beyond mere survival. One night, as he lay awake in bed, thoughts of the tree consumed him. "If I can take more fruits," he mused, "I could sell them at the market and become the wealthiest man in the village. I could build a larger house, buy new land, and never work again." Ignoring the tree's warning, Bala returned to the forest with a large sack. This time, instead of taking a single fruit, he filled the sack with as many as it could hold. The tree, though silent, seemed to darken as Bala's greed took hold. He hurried back to the village and sold the fruits for a high price at the market. The villagers marveled at the fruit's golden hue and paid him handsomely. With his newfound wealth, Bala built a larger house, bought expensive clothes, and began to live lavishly. But even though his riches grew, so did his hunger for more. He returned to the tree each day, taking more and more fruit. The tree still stood silently, but its once vibrant leaves began to lose their luster, and the fruits, though still golden, felt heavier and colder in Bala's hands. Despite his growing fortune, strange things began to happen. The fruits he sold started to rot faster than normal, spoiling before they could be eaten. His once thriving land turned dry and cracked, and his livestock fell ill. Bala dismissed these signs, blaming them on bad luck and continuing to take more than he needed. His wife grew concerned. "Bala," she said one evening, "you are taking too much from the tree. It is not meant to be used like this. Something is not right." But Bala, blinded by his greed, scoffed. "I have found a way to provide for us, and now we are rich. Why should I stop when the tree gives so freely?" Yet, deep inside, Bala knew something was wrong. He could feel the weight of his actions pressing on him like a heavy burden, but he refused to stop. He wanted more, always more. One stormy night, as lightning cracked across the sky and thunder rumbled in the distance, Bala made his boldest decision yet. "Why should I only take a few fruits?" he muttered to himself. "I'll take them all, and the tree will be mine alone." He grabbed his largest sack and raced into the forest, the wind howling around him. The air was thick with a strange energy, and as he approached the clearing, he noticed that the tree's once golden bark had turned a dull, ashen gray. The fruits no longer shimmered, but Bala was too consumed by greed to care. Ignoring the warnings in his heart, Bala stripped the tree of every last fruit, filling his sack until it overflowed. But as he reached for the final fruit, the ground beneath him began to tremble. The tree, which had been silent all these months, groaned as its roots dug deep into the earth. Its branches creaked, and its leaves withered before Bala's eyes. The once lush tree was now a twisted, gnarled shadow of its former self. Suddenly, a voice, deep and filled with anger, echoed through the clearing. "You have taken more than you need," the tree thundered. "You were warned, Bala, and now you shall pay the price for your greed." Before Bala could react, the ground beneath him split open, and thick roots shot up from the earth, wrapping around his legs. He screamed, dropping the sack of fruit, but it was too late. The roots tightened, dragging him toward the base of the tree. "Please," Bala begged, struggling in vain to free himself. "I didn't mean to." But the tree's voice was relentless. "You fed off me without respect, and now you will feed me in return." With one final pull, the roots yanked Bala into the earth. The sack of fruit spilled across the ground, rotting and turning to dust as they fell. The tree's bark darkened, and its branches twisted, its once glorious form now a monstrous reminder of greed's destructive power. The next morning, the villagers searched for Bala, but he was never found. All that remained was a barren, twisted tree in the heart of the forest, its roots gnarled and menacing. The once beautiful tree of life had become a cursed monument to Bala's greed. From that day forward, the villagers spoke of Bala's downfall in hushed tones, a cautionary tale passed from generation to generation. No one dared venture into the forest to find the tree, for they knew that it was no longer a giver of life, but a taker of it. And so, the legend of Bala, the greedy farmer, lived on. A reminder to all who heard it that those who take more than they need will eventually lose everything. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.